In this video, you're going to find out the reason for exactly why you are where you are. And it starts with what you say aloud. Let me give you an example. Bear with me. There's a guy, I haven't seen him in a minute, at the gym. It was my second gym sesh today. He looks the exact same as he has since I first started going to this gym. About 4.5, maybe 5 years ago. And let's call him Josh. Josh also has a tendency to talk down on himself, right? He was being asked about a body fat competition he was doing, and somebody else asked him, well, how are you doing on that body fat competition? He said, oh, I already fucking lost. I'm on medication. My job is like this, and I'm trying this, and it all was excuses. Now, I don't blame him for residing behind these excuses. In fact, the reason why he resides behind these excuses is because primarily his self-image is not aligned with the version of himself who would have won that body fat competition. And this is a big, big problem that a lot of people don't realize. They don't know how their mind works. They learned a lot of stuff in school, but they never learned how to apply the stuff they learned in school, and they never learned how to use the most powerful thing in the universe, which is our brain and our mind, to be able to create their reality. The most important thing that you need to realize is with these places that you want to go in life, you have to first mentally align yourself with where that is in order to actually get there. Because the latter is not good, right? In order to have the self-image to be able to just yap while there's people walking by, and the ability to feel like you have the authority to be yourself, for example, you have to first be very wise about the words that are leaving your mouth, right? It's the reason why the Bible says life and death are in the power of the tongue. You are what you say, you are what you eat. All of these sayings that you kind of heard thrown around, but you don't really understand. And the thing that you don't realize is that every single word that you say aloud has power over your mind, right? Whether they're true, false, positive, or negative, your brain interprets them as factual. And so if I was to go around telling people that I had some mental disorder, you best believe I'd be getting diagnosed with mental disorders, right? And then because I got diagnosed with those mental disorders, I'd start ruminating on it and giving myself worse mental disorders, right? No flack on people with mental disorders, but the thing that I'm trying to get across to you is the fact that every single thought and word that you allow to leave your mind and leave your mouth directly changes your reality. And most people do not realize that. They think that they're just saying stuff. They think they're just saying jokes, not understanding that behind your ego, behind your five senses, you watching this video, your sense of smell, your conscious thought ability to think of this person's doing this person's doing that, is a vast universe of your mind that you cannot control consciously unless you know how to control it consciously, right? And most people, they control what controls them by feeding it false negative inputs, by saying things aloud that are negative, by thinking thoughts that are negative. It wasn't until I quit saying negativity that my life began to have more positivity. And it wasn't until I started saying more positivity that my life started having more positivity. And most people don't think, because they believe that their circumstances are unchangeable, that they could do something like speak their reality that they want to live into existence. Although right now, me speaking in this video is solid proof that I've done just that. In fact, every single thing I've done for the past 3 years has been as a result of me writing down what I wanted to achieve in life, saying what it required, reading it every single night, visualizing it vividly with all of my five senses, and then just waiting. And sure enough, your brain begins to guide you towards those goals that you have set. And it really is that simple. It really is that simple, and it might blow your mind. And it sounds woo-woo, but when you do it, it's no longer woo-woo. It is knowing, right? It's not believing in faith, right? It's not faith, it's knowing. Because I'm telling you right now, I have 100% curated my current reality through the words that I've said out loud, through the affirmations I've written down, through the goals that I've set and visualized as a current moment thing. vividly imagining them while adding emotion to them, it allows your subconscious, which pilots you unconsciously, right? You don't realize it's piloting you towards whatever those goals are that you set. And if you don't set a goal, if you don't speak aloud with positivity, all you are going to find is the negative goal that you are unconsciously programming into your mind, which is your I am statements, right? I am depressed, I am anxious, right? You program these into your mind, and then your mind finds evidence to get you towards that goal that you are setting. And that is why it is so dangerous to speak aloud your negative feelings. Because on the latter, you find evidence for your positive feelings. And what you need to realize is that until you know how to control your subconscious mind will control you, and it will make you into a victim. It will make you into a victim of circumstance who believes that Donald Trump is responsible for all your issues and the liberal media is responsible for all your issues, not realizing that it's your own brain, your own mouth that you couldn't shut up, and your lack of goal setting and lack of positive affirmation in your life that has led you to being in a shitty circumstance. Because you find evidence for whatever you speak aloud. You find evidence for whatever you tell people about yourself. And so if you start telling other people that you are this type of person, whether positive or negative, your brain interprets that as a goal. Your brain has a goal-striving mechanism. And the more that you affirm these thoughts to your brain and you kick beside the negative thoughts that don't align with the person who you want to be, the faster your dream reality will unfold. And that is why, from somebody who was out of shape, from somebody who believed he was down and out, from somebody who believed he was poor, is now making a shit ton of money. And I'm in shape. It is because I spoke it into existence and then just followed what my intuition told me to do. You cannot change your current reality by changing your current reality, right? An example I like to talk about is how people on a New Year's resolution, they think, damn, I'm getting fat. I'm gonna set a New Year's resolution to get in shape. And so they go through a crash diet, and everything that they have to do in their life requires willpower, right? Because they're constantly going against their own negative self-image and their own subconscious. And that is why it takes mental fatigue. Because your brain is like, this is not who we are. This is not what we stand for. This is not the goal that you have programmed into me. Whereas when you speak positively and you visualize your dream body as having already being a current moment thing, and you add emotion to what it's gonna feel like when you're 12% body fat, how people are gonna look at you when you're 12% body fat, and then you affirm that to you, you're naturally throughout your day-to-day gonna have ease when it comes to getting in shape and walking 10,000 steps and doing what it is you have to do. And that is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm making this video right now because I have visualized myself and affirmed to myself and added emotion to those affirmations for the type of person who I am already and the person that I am working towards. But the reality of it all is I'm just kicking back, doing the inner work, and my physical reality is changing as a result. I wish there was a better way I could explain this to y'all, and if you're picking up what I'm putting down, you realize this shit's pretty insane. I wouldn't believe me either, right? But I am solid proof of this shit working because I was down and out. I believed that I was poor eternally. I believed that I wasn't capable of beating my addictions. I believed that I wasn't capable of having a good life because I was raised in bad circumstances. And now there's not a single thought of that in my mind because I know my life is gonna be good. I know my life is already good. And I know that my self-image is taking me towards that life that I visualized vividly because I restructured my mind with those affirmations. And it physically restructures your mind. I dropped out of college, but I was a psychology major. I've read about 40 books in psychology and self-improvement. And across all of them, this is the central theme. If you control your thought forms, and you focus on them enough with direct purpose and direct steps laid out mentally, your reality will change. And most people don't realize you can change your reality. They don't teach you how to do that because it'd probably be pretty dangerous if it was. If anyone could just have whatever they want, right? But you can. We are basically in a dream right now, and that's what you need to realize, right? Think that you're in a dream watching this video, and now because you're aware you're in a dream, you are lucid dreaming. Now you can fly, now you can do anything. Except in this dream world, you can't instantly start flying. But what you can do is you can visualize yourself flying, whatever your goals are, and in enough time, with enough mental restructuring, your reality will start to change. You will start to be closer and closer to that goal, and you'll look back and realize that it was working the entire time. And so what I want you to do with this video, hopefully you were taking notes, but I want you to set a goal, whatever it might be. It can be insanely outrageous, something you can't even conceptualize of happening. In fact, it probably should be something you can't conceptualize happening because your self-image is not allowing you to be in a better place than you are right now. So you need to imagine a better goal, a better future, something you couldn't even fathom yourself achieving, even though it technically is possible by it being in the laws of the universe, the laws of nature. And then visualize it daily, write it down, make it specific, and feel what it's going to feel like when you achieve that goal. And you will naturally start to act in accordance to that person, whether it's you being in shape, whether it's you having $1 million, whatever it might be. And it makes everything so much easier. No longer will you be struggling through your day to day, waiting for something to change, because you cannot struggle through your day to day and expect your future to change. What you can do is imagine your future as having already changed, kicking back and relaxing, and allowing the intuition to just flow through your head and to act on what that says. Structure is the killer of your blessings. Remember that. I'll see you, boys. Now that sounds very, very woo-woo, but just stay with me for a second. When I was a little kid and I was out of shape, I had the worst self-image ever. Every time I tried to get in shape, I'd always regress back to the mean, which was basically my baseline of my self-image and the idea and the concept of who I was, right? I always saw myself as this eternal fat ass, doomed to circumstances, doomed to poverty. And it wasn't until I had a near-death experience that I realized I'd been wasting all my life making up excuses for every single thing that I was doing. And that was when I started reading the books that actually taught me about money, taught me that poverty was not a circumstance, but it was just a situation I was in because of my negative thought forms, learned about bodybuilding, learned about getting in shape, and lo and behold, I'm not poor and I'm in shape, right? The most important lesson to be derived from this is it wasn't until I stopped changing my negative self-talk, right? I stopped telling people that I was trying to do this and stopped failing at this, and I ultimately just shut my mouth and listened way more. And not only that, but realized how powerful the words I was speaking actually were, that I began to actually get in shape, that I began to walk 10,000 steps a day, that I began to do the things that were actually required for me to get to the place where I secretly wanted to be, but believed I couldn't be at.